Let's take them one by one. The Inspire versus MAEP. Where do we stand on that one, and put your your thought process into how we're going to get this thing done?
One of my favorite movies is Young Guns. Paul, you remember when Emilio Estevez, they asked him something about? He said, "Hey Sheriff, I hear you got Charlie so and so with you," and then he shoots Charlie, and he says, "Charlie ain't with us no more." That's kind of where we are with MAEP.
Well, we've been talking about the switch all morning. I hope this doesn't lead to that.
No, it doesn't lead to that. I'm just telling you, MAEP is not going to be with us anymore come July 1st. So we've gotten over that hump, and now we are. The Senate finally got inspired on an education rewrite. They sent us a rule suspension yesterday, saying we are suspending the rules for deadlines as it relates to introduction. They want us to introduce a brand new education rewrite bill. It's got all the features of our Inspire bill, but they want to introduce a new bill that does away with MAEP and basically writes the Inspire formula into a new bill. So you will see the House drop. We will pass a rule suspension probably today because we're past deadlines, obviously, and we will introduce basically our Inspire bill. They wanted a little more added to the base student costs as far as the way it's arrived at. So I'll give them credit. They were reasonable on how they wanted to do that, and so they finally came to the table, and looks like we are going to get a funding formula rewrite. So it's a good day for public education in Mississippi. Probably lead to $200 million new dollars, and they will be fairly and transparently distributed throughout the state to all of our public school districts. Like I said, they have seen the light, and we're glad of that. I welcome them.
Will the name be the same thing as Inspire? Are you going to change the name?
I don't know. If we don't hurry up and get it done, we may call it Expire, because I've been fooling with it so long. So we don't really care about the name. If they want it not to be the name Inspire, and that's fine. I'm not going to get hung up on names.
Is that right? So it can't be that elementary. I mean, that's petty.
Unfortunately, that's where we are, Paul.
Are you serious? You're telling me that they don't want to brand it a name that you guys chose?
Yes, sir. But it's fine. Hey, my people are good. Look, we're going to get the meat and potatoes, and that's what we want.
Did they suggest a name?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right.
I know, but look, you got to keep your eye on the prize, and the prize is an equitable funding formula.
Let's get past that and go back to what you said, the change on some of the formula. Can you go over that, what we're talking about? Would the schools that need it the most be less better off, or about the same?
They will be better off. They will be better off. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is we're doing away with this hold harmless stuff that's been deeply rooted in MAEP at least since 2002 or 2003, and that is schools lose students. Schools don't do certain things, and we continue to prop their funding up as if we're funding one school in South Mississippi that's missing 500-600 kids, but we keep funding them just like they're there. It's called hold harmless agreements, and they're all throughout the MAEP funding formula. And I'm oversimplifying that a little bit, but suffice it to say, they still get their money as if those students are there, and they're not there. Those school districts have been shrinking, but we still prop them up and fund them as if those kids are there.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that in the private sector, though, Mr. Speaker. I mean, it would be like continuing to have a maintenance division or maintenance column as far as funding for typewriter maintenance. I mean, sooner or later, you're going to redo this.
Obviously,
it's crazy.
Look, if we could get more like what happens, in a private business over there at the Capitol, we'd be a whole lot better off.
All right, so
the funding formula gets it to the schools. Mm-hmm. It funds all public schools, and I say it does it fairly and equitably in such a way that certain places where they say we have been underfunded, and that is why we are chronically failing. This will actually it puts $15-20 million more dollars into Hinds County schools, and we actually had Hinds County reps not be for the formula to begin with. They're now on board as their constituents, and school superintendents have called and said, "What are you doing? This is about us." But look, to whom much is given, much is expected. They're going to have the money now, and we're going to see where the results are those schools going to remain F schools, D schools, C schools, or are they going to actually move the needle? And you will have a set of data in about 4 years to say, we fully funded those schools. Now, what did they do with it?
You just answered all the questions I have, because now that they have this, if they're failing schools, and they're traditionally failing, something else needs to happen.
And something else will happen.
Is the next thing, as far as next year, taking a look at some modicum at a serious basis? I know the states around us are doing this on school choice. I know that didn't get a grip this year, but maybe next session?
Look, it is. But I want to be real clear about this. Some folks, that was what they used against the Inspire Act, was said, Jason's for school choice, so if he's pushing this funding formula, there's got to be a snake in there somewhere about school choice. Mm-hmm. While this funding formula does fund it based on each exact student's needs. I mean, we have weights. Every student, if Lance was a student at Murrah High School over here in Northwest Rankin, he would get a base student cost plus weights for the different things that might pertain exactly to him as a student, whether he was gifted, Paul, whether he was in CTE, whether he was in SPED, wherever he was.
Yeah,
those things would be added, and you would, boom, there would be a number attributed to Lance. That's how it'll be for every school, every pupil in the state of Mississippi. So with that in mind, people said, oh, they're trying to tie it to a student. That's leading to a school choice bill. It's not leading to a school choice bill, but totally separate from the Inspire Act funding formula. There is a movement for school choice, not just in Mississippi, but throughout the country. And I think we would be, sticking our heads in the sand to say, we're not going to try to find a way to get there. I'm for it. I will tell you, a lot of folks talk about it, but not a lot of folks are actually for it when it comes time to write a bill and vote on it. So we're going to continue to push that because parents and taxpayers demand it. That's why, not because I had a crazy idea or somebody else did, but because parents and voters are saying we want the choice. So that's going to continue to be out there.
The lobby against this and the powers against having total control on all those dollars is powerful. Not only in Mississippi, look at Tennessee. Tennessee's movement was going full blast. You thought they're never going to be able to derail this. And at the last minute, they had to kill school choice there in Tennessee.
They did.
It'll be back next year, as you well know. Well, I do want to go back on one thing, though, because we've been dealing with this. And again, Jason White, speaker, is with me. We've been dealing with this for a long time. To the fallacy or the weight you're talking about on some of the equations on all of this depend on who's in school and who's not in school. Speaker of the House. All right, we're talking about the integrity of the actual numbers for attendance.
Yes, Paul. Now, MAEP, the way MAEP does it is they basically take who walks through the door as being in that school. They do an average daily attendance. In other words, people that walk through that door in those months, they count them, if you will. The way the Inspire formula or the no-name formula, the new one will be, is it'll be average net enrollment of months 2 and 3. So we're going to actually see the kids that were enrolled in the district and there in the second month of the school year and in the third month, and average those together. So you're not going, if kids were there the first week or you thought they were coming and they had moved over the summer, and, you're not going to be counted for those people. You're going to actually see who is enrolled and there in months 2 and in months 3. You're going to measure it twice and then take the average so that you've got a real number there of people that are there. Because people do flow in and out of the system, especially, when you're talking about 300,000-400,000 kids throughout the state. There is attrition and folks move around and that sort of thing. So at some point you've got to stab the number. But we're not just going to say, okay, anybody that was there, if there was a body there on a particular day or this particular day, that's the number. We're going to actually take a more captured look over 2 different months and look at enrollment.
This has nothing to do with it. I'm just curious about this. In talking about school choice and maybe going public school to public school, and I know we can do that now, but it's a headache doing it. Will this make it harder or easier? Because butts in the seats were always the big deal, and people fought over them because of taxes, not so much of what's good for the kid and the family. It's what's good for the front office.
Look, it is about butts in the seats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they get their money. And so,
But if they're failing,
a lot of them are. But let me say this: a lot of them are doing very well. So nobody wants to undo all the gains that we have made. And look, I'm going to be the biggest cheerleader for some things that we have done in our K-12 public schools. I have to brag on that because they've done a good job. Now, there's still a ways to go, and there's still things that we need to do, and a lot of that does center around parents and what they want for their kids. But that was something in this new formula. We have got a very large weight for career and technical aspects for schools. In other words, if you've got a student in a school district who is going to take part in career tech, we want to weight that and give you extra money for that because we want to incentivize that. And for a long time, we have not done that in our public school systems. Now, the more dynamic school districts did it because their taxpayers and school boards demanded it. So their curriculums included a very robust, we used to call it VOTEC, but now it's called Career Tech. We are wanting to push that throughout our entire K-12 system throughout the state. So we have a weight in this new formula specifically for that, and it's a fairly hefty weight, somewhere between 10 and 20%. Weight that gets thrown in there for that. So we're going to incentivize that. There are things we can do better, and career tech is one of those.
All right, because we got so many other things to talk about. The synopsis on this is that you guys are going to be meeting over the weekend, today and the weekend, and the Senate has done a rule suspension. So it really basically is the Inspire bill is intact with some minor modifications.
That's correct.
And it'll go through the process this weekend.
Look, and I'm glad they're at the table and we're going to finally do this. So don't take my comments as if I'm bashing my Senate colleagues. I'm excited for Mississippians. I'm excited for school districts throughout the state that we're going to have this conversation this weekend, and they're going to have a product that everybody's going to be proud of.